Greetings, good day, namaskar, juhar everybody. So I'm going to speak about the evolving Triad Odisha Millets mission and beyond. This has been a work for 4 or 5 years, and it has also converged with the Tigress work that we have. So the Odisha Millets mission had an inclusive philosophy behind its architecture. If you see this figure, on the y-axis, you have, say, the space where most of groups or crops or areas or peoples are there, and x-axis is the bedrock. So generally, in our understanding, if we are at a point Z that you see, and if we move in the path from Z to A, then the worst of people don't get any increments in the wealth. It goes to the better off because of, say, property rights or existing institutional structures. So over the years, people started questioning this, and then we started saying, no, there should be equal shares should be distributed. This shares became status quo. That is something like the Gini coefficient or similar inequality measures, they would more or less remain same. Then people started questioning that will still increase the gaps because someone who has more will get more of the existing wealth. So we thought that maybe hereafter, what happened in the past, that we don't know, but hereafter, if we have to share wealth where people have contributed somewhat equally, then the returns should be equally shared, whether it is wealth, whether it is healthcare, whether it is education or access to nutritious food. So hereafter, it should be equal. But if certain groups are actually falling short and we want them to reach certain minimum levels, let's call that the ideal level D, then the incremental share that they should get from additional wealth, not from the past wealth, from additional wealth or additional increments in healthcare or access to food and nutritious food, it should be in proportion to the shortfall. So that would, to reach that, one would remain in the space ZED. So keeping this kind of philosophy thinking that, okay, orphan crops, rain-fed areas, and indigenous peoples need to be focused. So this millets mission started, and the focus of the program was in an evolving triad. Like this program had three entities: the knowledge, policy, which is the government, and practice, civil society, and farmers. Now, you would see that the intersections between the three, the KPP intersection, which I have pointed out here, that to begin with, this kind of interactions is very rare. They don't exist. And even in our case, it started at a very small initiative with coming together of all entities for a consultation meeting, then designing, planning, and implementation. Now, at all these stages and taking this forward, the three entities came together. And that's a unique part of this architecture, where these three entities came together to complement and supplement each other. They complement each other because they want all the common goal that all of them have is a pro-poor, pro-people initiative on putting millets in farms and on plates. That was a common feature that all these three entities try to come together, and they supplemented because each of them, while they had a common goal, they had different expertise, and so they added value to each other. So government has the advantage that it is there everywhere, all over the state. So if something needs to be rolled out and scaled up, then the government's presence is an advantage. Academia can look into things critically, analyze, and give real-time policy suggestions, which at times also means they have to go out of their traditional roles of publishing or perishing if they don't publish, but they have to engage with policymakers to take things forward. Civil society and farmers, they work with the people, they try to see what should be practically feasible and take things forward. So this way, the coming together helped, they complemented and supplemented each other. And that, in a sense, there was convergence within and between these entities. Convergence within means all civil society groups will not be same. Similarly, government may have different departments with different mandates. Law has a different mandate. Finance has a different mandate. Agriculture could have a different mandate. Within agriculture, there could be different mandates for major crops, minor crops, and crops like neglected or orphan crops may not have that biggest space but how do we converge, build alliances within and also between. Similarly, academia can also work in different silos, and how we build those silos, and then academia also came out as a facilitating role between both policy and practice. So we started forging alliances with various research entities. Tigris is one of them, but there have been other alliances with government, with civil society, and other academia. And so this is how the triad has been evolving. One thing what we observed while working on this is that when we started the millets initiative, there was this supply-demand mismatch. So the hashed line, if you see in the supply-demand curve that I have drawn, they are the actuals. But the demand that the farmer sees, the producer sees, is say lower than the actual, what they perceive, what they observe. Similarly, the consumer thinks that the supply is lower than the actual supply. So as a result, the prices that the farmer may receive is lower, the PF, and the prices that the consumer will place higher, and also the quantity, there could be other, this is a static kind of a stylized presentation, but if you bring in dynamics, it could lead to such kind of crops going out of production and the farmer not receiving enough. And to address this, we thought it's not just production and consumption that one has to address. One has to address the 4 verticals: production, processing, marketing, and consumption. And in productions, we thought new improved agronomic practices could come in, system of crop intensification, seed treatment, deweeder. Dipti has just completed a study which shows these advantages. Maybe she will perhaps show it in her poster. On processing, we try to build capacity at local level: thresher, destoner, dehauler. We will be also having a study on dehauler, how small mixie type machines can be helpful in processing, which will help increase local consumption, reduce drudgery, and also increase demand, because consumption increases local as well as outside, it increases demand, and productions can also increase. So processing also helps that we strengthen the value chains and the value additions at various levels after production. So one thing about millets are they are robust in terms of biotic and abiotic stress. So they are smart foods, they're climate resilient, but at the same time, once you process them, they lose their shelf life. So this requires additional understanding of the value chains and how to facilitate entrepreneurs across the value chain to take care of the advantages as well as to address the disadvantage of low shelf life after processing. And this various aspects have happened. Mission Shakti, which is about women self-help groups in Odisha, it has become a major partner across entities facilitating production, processing, marketing, procurement, and various other activities in the process. So in consumption, we try to build awareness across various entities, including trying to bring in increased consumption in supplementary nutritional programs like ICDS, midday meals, and schools, and how appropriate recipes can be prepared, which increases bioavailability. So these were some of the activities that we tried to do. And when we look at production, getting back to the first year, we had envisaged that the program should go into about 30 blocks. And in that, 29 were actually functional. So based on our baseline data and the first year data, what we observed that production increased by more than twofold. The yield, so area increased by 44%. Both quantity per hectare as well as rupees per hectare increased by 120%. That is more than 2 times. And rupees per household, because of this combination of these two, increased by 216%, which is more than 3 times. So this was the first year. And as a result, our initial plan to scale up, to showcase these 4 verticals in 4-5 years and then try to scale it up, actually could not happen, because the proof of the pudding lies in its eating. And as a result, what happened, demand started coming in from the local areas, by the local representatives, politicians. And if you look at this structure, you will see that between 2017-18 and 2020-21-22, the number of blocks that we have functional has increased from 30 to 84. it has increased from 7 to 15. This case, farmers have become from 8,500 plus to more than 1,10,000 farmers. And area has increased from about 5,000 hectares to more than 50,000 hectares. And this is just Kharif. This year season is not over yet, because by February, March, we will still have more land. We are bringing 7 millet crops into this whole thing. Initially, we are largely looking into a monocrop situation. In this year, some integrated intercropping situations have become larger. Procurement started in 18-19, and this is likely to increase this 17,000. That 21-22 procurement has not happened. So the numbers used to, I think that's a typo, 18-19 got repeated there. But we have procurement data for the first 3 years, which started from 1890 to 2021. And so you see these numbers, how procurement increased, and various other activities happen. So with this, I think various activities and developments happened in this Millets mission. I will skip those part, and I will try to talk about these other activities that we have planned. There are PhD scholars who are working on their thesis. Hopefully, some of them will be completing before March, or maybe soon after March. There are other work which are planned, which we plan to complete before March. So one is on public procurement of finger millets, and what are its implications on marketing and prices and production of other millets that is happening. So we are looking into pathways and challenges of farmers, producers organizations, which are working across various verticals. They're working on multiple activities, not only for production, seeds, cafes, and various other things they're trying to do. Bio resource centers and so on and so forth. So there were 6 activities which were piloted last year, even during the pandemic, and they've been scaled up this year. So we are planning some experimentation of millet mixes. Like small millets are difficult to process, so how they can be done and your food can be nutritious. We are trying to look up a study on folk life of millets in Jharkhand and exploring other traditional multi-cropping system for climate resilience. This is announced over this. So we also plan a national consultative auction of policy around millets in Delhi. And the reason for this is we from Odisha Millets mission. So because of these successes that we have had in the last 4 or 5 years, so we have been in discussion with various central government departments, the network of Rainfed Area Authority, the Niti Aayog, the National Rural Livelihood Mission. Many of them have appreciated the work and also suggested that other state governments may scale up or may take certain initiatives. Some of the state governments have discussed with us: Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, and Punjab. We have had different levels of discussion, and some of them have taken some parts from the program that we have had. And we plan this policy workshop that we are planning in February, March, and if that comes out, hopefully we can feed into larger policy initiatives. In Maharashtra already some of our partners in the civil society have done some experimentation for a few years. There is initial success, and they are also trying to further scale it up. In Chhattisgarh, also recently a mission was initiated, and some of the policies or guidelines there are similar to the Odisha Millets mission. They are also thinking of procuring small millets, which is a step on and add on to what Odisha has done. Odisha has still not started procuring smaller millets. Jharkhand also we are in discussion on various aspects that could be taken up. So we have had multiple meetings with the Niti Aayog and NRA, and in fact the NRA discussion with us along with various other stakeholders led to declaring that millets should be declared as nutri-cereals and not core cereals. Government of India also initiated writing to the UN that we should have an International Year of Millets, which UN has now accepted, adopted, and 2023 is going to be International Year of Millets. Some of the ideas that we have been doing, we have discussed with our colleagues in the Millennium team from Cambridge, and hopefully these will take further developments will happen from what we are doing. We learn from them, they learn from us. And I think, so this policy lessons from Odisha is going to be an important step for Odisha Millets mission as well as for the global thing. And while I conclude my talk, I give you all a hug from Oli. Oli was the mascot in the Hockey World Cup of Odisha. And that was our one of way of that we branded. These were our women self-help group members who helped us, and that their movement has actually spread. This was the initial days when they were part of this whole exercise. So our team from Odisha Millets Mission and the women self-help groups are here. So a hug from all of us to all of you. So thank you again, Johar and Namaskar from Odisha, India, Mumbai. So thank you all.